Welcome in. This is Stream ER, the next episode. How are you today, Kimbro?
Man, I'm good, Nate. It is good to have you, brother. I'm having so much fun doing these podcast episodes. Thank you guys all for listening, for tuning in. Man, I just, my heart feels warm, Nate.
Yeah, loving the comments. We love the feedback. Like we always say, show us your comments, send us some love, send the criticism, whatever, and we will take it and try to improve.
Yep.
You know, this is here. This is for you guys. We want to help you guys out, but we can also use some help too. So
that's a great point. And, you know, kind of a natural transition at StreamerPod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and all of the lovely platforms. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find us. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and something called Google Podcasts, which we still don't know from the last episode.
We still don't know. We may never know.
All right, Nate.
And just the FYI, search Kimbro Plays, not Stream quite yet. Eventually we will get there, but
yep. Yeah, we're
Plays.
Still trying to figure out what's going on with that, but you can find us. I promise. If you're that, or if you're not really sure, you're having trouble, literally DM us, send us a message. We'll literally send you the link. We got it.
Yep.
Today's episode, Nate, how to collaborate properly and successfully.
This is a good one. We brought our first guest on, Cory Long. He's been a friend of mine for 4.5, 5 years. We are both in the same business, very similar businesses, I guess, in the internet marketing industry. Cory has built multiple $1 million plus businesses throughout his time. I would say he's a little on the older side, so he's a little after the Twitch, became popular. He does understand it. He's a video game player, believe it or not. He said Black Ops 2 was his favorite Call of Duty.
That's funny.
Which is pretty funny, but
yeah.
Just listening to Cory, he's got some unbelievable insight, things that you've never heard, some advice that you may not have never heard about business and just life in general. So go ahead and listen in. Take notes, and here we go.
All right, let's start it off. We've got Cory with us. Cory Long, super excited to have you here. We've been talking about this particular segment and teasing this section up, I don't know, since probably the first text message you and I had when game planning this, Nate. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. This and the tax guy, we've been teasing like crazy. So
two bald guys.
Yeah, two bald guys.
I love it. It. Cory, thank you for joining us. I'll sort of set the table for you. We're just really excited to hear your expertise and sort of you be able to share your guidance and leadership and the things you've learned, and seeing how we can apply it to this content creation space that many of us are in. So.
For sure.
Yeah. So I guess just tell us what you do now, and we can go from there.
Yeah. So I own a digital marketing agency. We do business all around the world with pretty much lead gen is kind of our big thing. So if somebody needs their phone to ring, or if they want leads to come into their email box, or even people walk in the front door, that's kind of what we do. So that's what we got started in 6 years ago. Built that business because of the success in that. We also own a training program where I train other people around the world how to do what I do and teach them how to grow a business and create something that's profitable and that can sustain their family, and whether they want to travel or a lot of the guys we have come into our group do ministry work, that kind of thing. So it's a very unique group of people that are kind of looking for something they can do as a laptop lifestyle, something that they can work minimum amount of hours, got a lot of money and profit on the back end, and have that time freedom.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds like the dream. Sign me up.
It just so the audience knows, me and Cory went through a similar training program. Was that 5 years ago? 4.5 years ago?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Like that.
Wow.
We became friends through there. Cory has boosted my business, I don't know, triple or quadruple of what I started with him at. So I give him a lot of credit on knowing how to grow a business and how to grow yourself. So he's definitely a guy to listen to.
It's been fun to watch the growth, because I know you started out with nothing in this business. It was just from complete scratch. So now I give you fits about only working, 10, 15 hours a week and goofing around the rest of it, playing video games. What a life. What a life.
Yep.
Living the dream.
So we're going to go through kind of, why to listen to Cory. Just so you guys know, he is the inventor of the StreamYard question, how do I take massive imperfect action? I'm not sure if he's actually the inventor of that or if he stole it from somewhere, but
probably.
we stole it from you. So.
Yeah, exactly.
He's built multiple businesses with lots of zeros behind them. Can you kind of give us an example of businesses you've been in previously and have grown those?
Yeah, so we've done all kinds of things. I grew up, when I was 7, my dad bought a family business, right? So I've been in like small family business since I was a kid. Watched him grow that, came back into the family business. I went to college for 1 semester at Texas Tech and decided that was not for me. Dropped out of that, went back into the family business, helped launch one of the locations for the store out in Midland, Texas. Sold like OSHA safety supplies, janitorial supplies, that sort of thing, the oil field. And so we went from, I think when I took it over there, it was somewhere right around $7,000 a month. A little small, because there was just a sales guy there that was struggling. And we took it to $90,000 a month in a year in revenue just in that one location. And so that was kind of the backdrop, right? And then we went, helped my brother-in-law bring his business back to life. And it was all sales. Most of what I did was sales. So when all of this came along, I did ministry work for 17 years, worked and ran a nonprofit, a children's home for kids, specifically girls that had been abused or neglected or trafficked, that kind of thing. And so we did that for a while, and then stepped out of that, built our business so that we could travel and do this full time, right? And so now we've built multiple businesses, the training company, the marketing company. I also do consulting gigs on the side and charge anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 an hour to do that. And so it's been good because we've been able to build a lot of different things in a lot of different industries. I don't know if y'all remember, do y'all remember Circuit City? That was way back there.
Oh, yeah.
That was, right? That was one of the first jobs that I had after I got married. And I was doing sales for them. And I'll never forget working in that industry because sales is just something that's kind of been a natural part of my life. And I'll never forget working for them. Within a month, I was in the top 10% of the company. And it wasn't something intentional. I just was out there doing my thing. And it was an interesting thing because as I grew my sales ability and grew things that I had just grown up doing with our family business, it helped me through all of the other things, the ministries, running the nonprofit, eventually starting these businesses and helping them to grow. And then we've got some other stuff on the horizon that we're kind of toying with now because I want multiple streams of income, right? I want to have enough different streams that no matter what happens in the world, there's always some income stream coming in.
Yeah. I love that. That's actually really interesting. And it, you've clearly been successful. I love Circuit City. There's probably some people who are going to be listening to this podcast and just had a huge throat. Well, a bunch that'll be like, I have no idea what he's talking about. And a bunch are like, oh my God, I love Circuit City. Like, that's where I got my first console or whatever. So, that is super cool. Shout out to Circuit City. I believe,
that's right.
Are they out of business now?
Oh yeah,
I was going to say,
been out of business for a long time.
Yeah, I remember the storefront sitting vacant in Ohio for a long time and being very sad. We still had Best Buy, but Circuit City, Sun TV as well in Columbus. There was a bunch of those, but you talked a little bit about multiple income streams, and that really makes me reminiscent, Nate, of the episode we just recorded last time on episode 2. Cory, we spent a lot of time talking about, from a marketing perspective, setting yourself up so that you are discoverable across multiple platforms and sort of proliferated across a bunch of different spots. When we're talking about content creation and being an influencer as a business model, the other thing that makes me think of is, Nate, being able to bring in revenue from Twitch, but also from YouTube videos. Being an influencer on Instagram or TikTok, if you grow yourself on enough platforms over time, you can do what Cory's doing and bring in multiple, I don't want to call them passive, but, multiple different places that will make you money if you post it and it grows and it does its thing. So it's really, really interesting stuff.
And I think everyone knows Instagram influencer is the term.
Yeah.
Well, they have full on media kits. They're not just on Instagram.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're YouTube, they're TikTok. Yeah. And that's what you send to companies to get sponsorships.
Yeah.
And if you really want the real money, it's the sponsorships.
Yeah.
It's not directly from Twitch.
You have to run it as a business, right?
Yeah. Before we get too far, I want you to tell us your favorite video games you've played. I know you play with your daughter a lot.
Yeah. So, when we were doing children's homework, I would just play whatever the kids were playing, right? And so back in the day, we would have big tournaments at our cottage where we had all of these goofy kids. We started with Halo. I mean, that's where it all started, right? First-person shooters. And so we'd have these big, huge Halo tournaments where back then, we had these, because everybody donate those big, huge projection TVs to the children's home. And so we would turn them like back to back, and then we'd hook up all of the Xboxes, and we'd have these big Halo tournaments. But no, man, Lexa and I have played Call of Duty a lot. That's one of the biggest things probably that we played together. She's into Minecraft now, which
nice.
I don't get it. I still don't get it. I just don't get the appeal, but she loves it. I don't know. She plays it all the time. She was asking me yesterday to play it. We tried to get the she plays Elder Scrolls. I don't know. I'm an action guy. Like, give me something like, look, I bought, when I was a kid, I had one of probably the first computers. I had a Commodore 64. Y'all even remember those?
I've never heard of that.
That's way probably before your time.
Before. Yeah.
That was like one of the very first computers ever that you could buy, like have as a personal home computer. And I would play games back then, and you would put a disc in and you'd wait for the floppy disk to load, and you would have like one little thing that you could do, and then you'd have to load another disc. Like, it took forever to play anything, man. It took forever to play anything. But man, I grew up on like ColecoVision and Atari and all of that stuff. That's what I grew up on, was playing all those kind of games, Donkey Kong, and going to we used to go and actually play, I guess some still do, but we used to go play video games at the, wherever, at the corner store or whatever, because we didn't have all the other stuff to do back then. But
I was going to say, I definitely remember, there was nothing quite like being able to go into a store, such as a Circuit City or a Best Buy, into the gaming section, even a GameStop a little bit later when they came in. And that was where you got a chance to play a demo of the game for the first time.
Yeah, new game.
Yeah, there was no trailers on YouTube. There was, like, you maybe heard about it. You knew the release date because of something. And then the only chance you would have to get any sort of advanced sort of, access was going into a store and playing the game like that. And no pre-orders. It was a different time, man.
Nope. Yeah, you just kind of lucked out, right? I mean, I remember YouTube. I remember the first viral video I ever saw on YouTube was that kid singing the Noom song or whatever it was. I'll have to find it. I'll send it to Nate. It was one of the very first things that it was basically the very first viral video that ever went huge on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, I remember all of that just because. That was big stuff. And you watch the progression of everything over the years. Like, I think my class was the first class to have computers, whatever that meant, programming in high school.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, right? So when I went into tech, I was going in as a double E major. We were learning 6 languages in the first semester of college. Yeah, kind of crazy. That's why it weeded out most everybody.
Yeah. I was going to say, I would have been out real quick.
Yeah, right. But yeah, no, I think nowadays, man, she plays a lot of games. I haven't had time to play much. I'm one of those kind of people that once I start a game, I've got to beat it. So we did play a lot of live and that kind of stuff, but if I start a video game, I can't put it down.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm driven to beat the game, and I'll sit there for hours and hours and hours. So
that's
welcome
awesome.
to our life.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh, yeah, man. It's what's crazy is like I'll zone everything else out, man. I forget to eat. I forget.
Yep.
Like focused. I'm zoned in on what I'm doing.
Well, I bet many of our listeners are going to feel right at home with you on a lot of that as well.
Yeah, probably so.
You know, it's a pretty specific type of wiring that it requires to be, you know, dedicated to gaming and streaming and, you know, being in that entire world. And, you know, that's why it makes a lot of sense to have you on, because you're close to it, you're familiar with it, but you're also not in it. So you can give us, you know, zoomed out 30,000 foot stuff that's applicable in your line of work, but maybe transitions into useful stuff for us as well.
Yeah, I think we've taken.
Go ahead, Cory.
Oh, I was just going to say, we've taken some businesses from, you know, a couple 100,000 to over 2 million a month in income. You don't do that without getting eyeballs on the business and what it's doing in the services.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the big thing that we wanted to bring you on is not only that growth that you can provide businesses and do businesses in yourself, but it's really the sales and selling yourself. You have an innate ability to develop trust with someone almost instantly. I guess, what is the one thing that you can pinpoint in society today where people fail in both in-person and online social situations where it just turns people off?
Yeah, I think, you know, and Nate, you and I have had a lot of conversations about this. I've got a training group, right, that I teach people how to do this every day. And the thing that scares them most is sales. It's getting on the phone with somebody, talking to somebody, spending that time with them. And a lot of times people will jump immediately into the sell instead of small talking, instead of getting to know the person, instead of being genuinely interested in them. And so they jump ahead of themselves and they don't build the trust because they don't talk about Circuit City and they don't talk about playing video games and they don't talk about the goofy stuff, right? And we forget. I mean, we were talking about football and all that before we got started today, and those are things that build trust. A good book is Speed of Trust. It's a really good book if you guys want to read something that'll teach you that. Even in the children's home world, when we were working with the kids, they would come in and they'd have these walls up because they were trying to protect themselves. They had been abused, beaten, neglected, whatever, right? Some of them were living underneath bridges before they came to us. And so they didn't trust you at all. You had to figure out a way to build trust. And the only way to build trust was that they had to know you actually cared, like really cared. And so they would push you to see if you cared. They would push you by doing stuff, triggering you on stuff that, you know, that they knew that would upset you. And to see if you would still love them afterwards and care about them afterwards, right? It's no different. I mean, human psychology is the same across whatever we're dealing with. People just want to know that you care. They want to know that you're genuinely interested in what they're doing and why they're doing it. And the more you can be interested in that client, in that person, whoever it is, your audience that you're talking to, you know, the more that they're going to trust you and want you, they want to do business with you. You know, and Nate, you and I have talked about this. If you do the sales process right, you get to the end, you don't even have to pitch them. They're asking you, right? They're going, hey, I want to do business with you. How can I do business with you?
Yeah.
Like, what is it going to cost? What's the next step, right? You don't even have to sell anything. It works the same thing with what you guys are doing. When you create content where it's real and it's raw and it's just you, don't try to be anybody else. I mean, Nate doesn't need to be anybody else. Kimbrough doesn't need to be anybody else, right? You guys just need to be you. People will get attracted. And I'm going to give a perfect personal example from Nate. Back when we first started, we used to do these video ads. And man, he would fight me. He did not want to do the video ads, Finally, he did them, and he would get cheaper cost per click and cheaper leads than I was getting. And it's because for whatever reason, they trusted him. They would see the ad, they'd see him talking, and they'd see it, and he'd blow it up. He'd get so many leads, he'd struggle to figure out what to do with them. And it's because he was able to build trust quickly through video. And that was like a 30-minute, minute 30-second to a minute, maybe 2-minute video. It wasn't anything long.
Yeah.
It's just about being real.
Yeah. And that's so interesting because we talk a lot about that. And, it is really nice to hear, at least for me, it makes me feel good to know that that's the advice that someone who's been so successful in business has as well, right? It makes me feel like that the things that we've observed or the practices that we've put in place for ourselves personally, for this podcast, for everything that we're doing, we're on the right track. Being genuine, being honest, being truthful, actually truly investing in people. That was one of the first things we talked about in episode 1. You may not be familiar with this term per se, Cory, but in the content creation space, especially in gaming, but it's all over the board, there's this idea of follow for follow. And so a lot of people's, here, I'm gonna follow you, you follow me. We both have this mutualistic benefit of engaging and growing our platform from a numbers perspective. But the problem is you see all of these people who engage in that sort of marketing strategy. And then when they either go live or they share a video of theirs, they actually put their content out. Nobody watches it because no one's genuinely invested in that individual. You did this sort of very superficial transactional relationship with somebody. You didn't actually spend any time getting to know them, being transparent and honest. Like you talked about, you came on and said, building trust. Well, one of the ways that you build trust is not just being genuine in sort of the way you carry yourself, but you came in and told us personal stories right off the rip. You weren't afraid to share tidbits of information about you, not just, hey, what do you do? Not just asking questions of the person that you're talking to, but actually opening up things about yourself so that people get to know you and feel this sense of security and trust. And I think that's huge.
Yeah, I think we're all afraid, right? We're afraid that if I open up and say something, they're going to judge me for that, or they're not going to like me because of this or whatever. I mean, just because you're an Ohio State fan doesn't mean that I'm not going to like you, right? Right? I mean, those are things, though. People, they get all, worried about goofy stuff that doesn't matter. And the more authentic you can be, the more real you can be, the quicker they're going to attach to that. And if people see real, right, they know when it's real and it's not just you being some salesperson or, right? If you'll just help people get what they want, right? You'll get what you want. That's what Jim Rohn used to say all the time. And that's one of those things that if you will focus on helping people, and I know every bit of the content y'all create's different, and that's the whole point of this the whole podcast is just about helping people.
Yep.
That's all it's about.
No, I think that's a really great point. And I think, Nate and I haven't really talked about this on the pod yet. But I do think we observe it. The people who are really successful are genuinely creating content that is uniquely theirs, but oftentimes they're getting their start and really having success when they open themselves up with their content to helping other people, right?
Yep.
Nate, we think about a Harris Heller, we think about, some of the major content creators that, in a situation like Harris Heller, I don't know if you're familiar with him, Cory. He's sort of like the big name in streaming space. He's got a really prominent YouTube channel where he does a lot of tech reviews. He does a lot of equipment reviews that are kind of in the niche of streaming and video gaming. And he plays video games, but none of his content that you consume is about him playing video games. It is about him providing value to you, teaching, mentoring, giving his 2 cents on reviewing equipment. I'm not saying that every streamer needs to have that sort of thing built into their content where, they disregard their gaming or other things and only, if we just had everybody giving out advice on equipment and stuff, nobody would be making video game content. And that's not exactly what I'm saying. But I do think it is an important strategy where if you've got a nugget of expertise in a particular realm, or feel like you can speak confidently and eloquently about something, I think it's an important strategy that you should weave into the content that you're building on some of these platforms.
Yeah. I think not only in the, YouTube space or, having a plan of, let's help streamers out or let's help a certain group of people out. It's what happens when you start to interact with somebody in a Twitch chat on a live stream. How do you build trust? well, you have to find some kind of balance of sharing yourself, but also taking an interest in that person. And Cory, you're the best at this in person. How do you relate to someone so quickly all the time, I guess?
Yeah. One of the things we talked about, I did ministry work for a long time, right? And so when you walk into a room, you have to be able to do this in a way that's just a natural thing, right? And not something that you're having to force or whatever, but it's really about finding common ground, right? It's about finding things that are similar and common. And Nate and I have been to a lot of live events together, and you get into, especially if you get up and you speak on a stage, and I've spoken a lot of stages through the years. It's about finding that commonality where you can dig into something that they're going, yeah, that's me. Like I get that. I feel that. I understand that, and being open to that. But again, I think it goes back to not trying to force anything. I think a lot of people, they will, they'll force things, or they'll do what they think that the person's wanting them to say or do or whatever. It's more about just being real and being you, and having that common interest in them, and wanting the best for them. I mean, if I want the best for you, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to learn about you, ask about your family, ask about what's going on with your life, know something personally about, who you are and what you do. And, I do this in our digital storefront group, and we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of students from all over the world. And my wife says I'm extremely observant, whatever that means. I'll notice some oddball thing, whether it's maybe something about the way that they handle themselves in a situation, or maybe it's something that they talk about specifically, or I don't know, whatever it may be, right? And then I'll use that as a reference point the next time that we talk, right? And so it's not about, like, my sales pitch, even when we sell our services, my sales pitch a lot of times is more about questions than it is about anything. I'll just start asking questions. Let them tell me all about their business, and let me tell them, all about what they're doing. And through that, I am picking my moments, right, to feed things in. When you're live, it's a whole lot easier because you can see body language, and you can see, there's a little book out there, How to Read a Person Like a Book. If you guys are looking, I mean, even body language on podcasts or on when people are playing the game, right? I mean, it all counts. We all feed off of that. We're getting moved by what the other person's doing, one direction or another. And so if somebody's leaning into the game and they're really intent, like I was watching your wife play the other day on that stream you fed me, there were times when she would, like, you could tell, like, everything else was just like spaced out, and she was really focused because she was about to turn a corner, about to do something that she needed to be like 100% on the game.
Yeah.
Right. And then there were times when she was yakking about this, and you could see that she was talking to whoever on the stream, and right. And you could see those moments, like she's shifting from, but even when she would talk to somebody in the chat, it was something personal. Hey, I noticed you were in so-and-so. Are you still there? Right. She knew something that was a personal fact about that person. When you do that, when you pay attention to the details, man, you can build trust like just super fast, super fast.
Yeah, I do think that's a really powerful strategy. I have noticed that about Ris's stream before. She does a great job either recognizing things about the person. She does a great job keeping a catalog of things she's seen on social media. If she came across a certain picture of yours a couple weeks ago, and the next time she sees you in the chat, she references, hey, it looked like you had a great trip. I loved that photo on Instagram. Tell me more about it. Right? That kind of thing. We talk a lot about engagement and getting people to your stream. After that, it's about keeping them there, right? That's the weird part, because we're in the business of attracting new business, but it's almost as important to maintain the business you currently have. You're not just going to always cycle through new people all the time. And yeah, I think Riz does a great job. I like to think that I work really hard to do that when I'm live. I think that that's a very powerful tool to use to keep people in and around you, build trust with them, and make them feel seen and heard. And that's what people want to do. Like you said, we're group animals. We feed off of each other. There are the very rare occasion. There are the hand few select that have the ability to fire up a stream, play their game, completely disregard the other people that are watching them, and be entertaining enough to do this, at a high level.
That's a 1%.
I was going to say, that is
right?
So few.
That's a 1%, but that's in any business, right? Any business that you try to go into. I don't care if you start an internet marketing company like we have. I don't care if you're doing, streaming or whatever, podcasts or whatever that you're doing, blogging. It doesn't matter. There's the 1% that seems to be able to do things in a way that it just fits for whatever reason. It just fits them. And then there's another, 10% or so that just kills it, but they have to work hard at it. And you said that a minute ago. It's work. Like most people don't want to work as hard as it's going to. There's a lot that has to go into it. I mean, Nate knows, like I work all the time. I love to work though. I don't mind working.
Yeah.
But I work a lot, not because I have to, but because I want to. We have income streams coming in that I could take a lot more time to fish, but I enjoy what I do. I enjoy helping people. I enjoy doing what we do.
Yeah. You have
so
to,
people notice that.
You have to have a passion for it. I mean, it is a lot of work.
Do.
And, we talked about this a lot in the first episode. We've referenced it a couple of times, Nate. I know that I speak from a position of privilege where I don't pursue the content creation space out of a place of need. I don't need to stream or make YouTube videos in order to feed my family. And I know that not everybody is in that spot. And that's important for me and Nate to keep in mind. But for those of us who, maybe are in a spot of luxury where we're not necessarily having to work so hard, I think it's important to spend some of that time investing in other people. If you there's a grind mindset, Cory, in the streaming space. I'll see it a lot of times where people will prefer to go 8, 9, 10 hours a day live streaming their gameplay. I think that is one of the more difficult things for a content creator to do. I think if you chop that in half and you spent 4 hours streaming and then you spent the other 4 hours just gathering information, taking notes about the people who come to your streams or the people that you could potentially network and interact with, you could probably do a lot better in terms of growing your base if you just kind of redistributed what you do with the hours that you have.
Yeah, Cory, we talked about your little 4-quadrant system in the last episode. And we basically said, as a streamer, you've got to figure out what is the most important thing what is the most important thing to me that's going to grow me.
Yep.
And a lot of that is the networking thing.
It's not why you're on the stream.
Nope.
No. You will never grow on a live stream unless you're the 1% that gets rated by, a 1%er. It's just not going to happen. So the networking thing is so crucial to growth. And a lot of people don't do it. Or they don't know how to do it, or they don't feel confident about it, like you said. And a lot of people that we're in the training group with, they have zero confidence about themselves. I don't know if it's, just nervous because a lot of people are nervous because they need to feed their families. So that nervousness comes on to someone else. I mean, Cory, you've seen that a lot. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. And what ends up happening is you come across as desperate, right? So, those feelings may be pushed down inside and that you're nervous and that you're desperate. And then it comes through the sales call or it comes through the live stream. It comes through whatever you're doing. And you don't realize it's coming through, but everybody else sees it. They see that you're desperate. They see that you're needy. They see that, right? They see all of that. And man, that's tough to overcome because a lot of these people end up getting so stressed out and freaked out about it that they end up sabotaging themselves, right? And then they don't sell anything, which just makes the cycle even worse.
I say it snowballs on them.
It does. It snowballs to the point then where you're freaked out and you're like, how am I ever going to get anything to happen here? And how am I going to get people on my feed? And how am I going to get people, right? How am I going to make money? And then it just starts to snowball. And really, at some point, you just got to take what you said earlier. You got to take massive imperfect action. You've got to be able to go, you know what? I'm okay with failing. And that we're taught so wrong, right? We're taught in a way that says, take this test, and if you fail it, you fail the class, right? Instead of learning from the failure and it actually just being a learning process, right? And so it's like it terminates on itself instead of something to where we learn the lesson, right? And then we get to go put it into place. And I think that's what happens within the group. We push it all the time. I push it all the time. I'm like, look, just go do it. Go make the phone calls. Go walk in the door to somebody and talk to. I don't even care if it's your neighbor. I don't care if it's somebody on the side of the road that's doing landscaping work. You think you can help them get leads? Go stop. I've done that before, and it'll help you to get over those fears. And it's a numbers game, right? Yeah, it's a matter of how many people can you talk to or get in front of and get your live stream or whatever in front of. It's a numbers game. And the more people you get in front of, the more people are going to watch. The more people that watch, the more your ratings are going up. The more your ratings, right? It's just, it snowballs the other direction too. But man, people at fear of failure, fear of looking stupid, fear of letting their family down. Maybe somebody's watching this and they're trying to support their family this way. And that fear is creating anxiety, and that anxiety is creating, right? And it just kind of, before long, you're coming across as needy and desperate on your feed instead of having fun. I mean, people want to be a part of other people that are successful. They want to be a part of other things that are entertaining. I mean, that's the whole purpose of this, right? Is entertain and show them something that they're not seeing everywhere else.
Well, and I was getting ready to say, I think that's perfect what you're saying, because, content creation is the business of selling yourself. You are playing video games oftentimes, but you're selling yourself. And people, like you said,
believe in yourself.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. If you don't have a certain level or can't develop a certain level of self-efficacy and self-confidence and be able to feel comfortable in your own skin, it's going to, at some point, whether or not it does initially or down the line, it won't sustain itself, and people will start to see through it. There'll be cracks in the facade. Everything about it will sort of start to crumble, and it'll be really hard to maintain any sort of long-lasting success. Plus, it's just exhausting.
Yep.
It's exhausting to not feel good, to not feel confident, to not feel worthy. So, and that's a whole other conversation for a different day about how to build self-confidence. But just being aware that is a huge part of successful business, is finding ways to be confident in yourself, to be able to sell yourself, not in a way that's undermining, but in a way that's genuine and exciting. And like you said, brings entertainment value to other people.
And I think that genuine,
passionate.
Yeah. The passion and the genuine confidence, that will lead into you being more confident into, I see a lot of small streamers who are scared to go into a bigger streamer that has maybe 200 or 300 viewers, and they're scared to chat. I'm like, why? Like, if you are yourself and you can somehow make a connection to that streamer, think about if you could collab with that type of person. Think what that would do to your stream. And if you could go and chat, and maybe you chat to 10 different streamers that have over 100 viewers, and maybe one person likes you, that's all you need, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people are scared to do it. They're scared because they think they're going to be seen as, oh, look at this idiot who's coming into chat. All he wants to do is collab.
Yeah,
I don't think that's the case.
And like you said, Nate, or Cory, you mentioned it. You used the key word, and Nate, you're kind of reiterating it. It's about overcoming the fear of failure, and fear coming from a fear-based perspective versus a love-based perspective. Right? If you are fear motivated in any type of relationship, whether it be family, friends, if you only operate out of a position of defensiveness or guardedness, fear, you're going to be in trouble. Versus if you operate in a place where you are love motivated, you're passionate, you're enthusiastic, you're excited, you're optimistic, right? All of the things that we would associate with somebody who is excited and thrilled and loves what they're doing. All of that stuff is hugely important. And I do see it. I see it a lot. I see a lot of people who are afraid of a lot of things. They're afraid of how people will judge them. They're afraid of taking chances and risks. They're afraid of other people's, 2 cents. It's not a great place to operate from. It's exhausting. It's not good for your mental health and emotional well-being. the more we can do to break away from a fear-based perspective, I think it's going to be really helpful.
What do we do, Nate, when we do he hates these. We do these live events where we'll come in and we'll set aside 2 hours and we'll force everybody in the room to make sales calls for 2 hours. And I mean, 2 hours is a long time to make sales calls. It's a long time to do it. Every time we do it, Nate makes money every single time. Because it forces you to focus on one thing, and that's all you're doing for just 2 hours straight. I don't know what it is in the streaming world that these guys need to do, but it works the same way. Do something, set aside a block of time, and maybe it is just going into these other guys' chats and doing that. I reached out, the guy that's my business partner right now in our training program, I reached out to him probably 3 years ago because I wanted to find the best guy that knew how to market this very specific thing. And so I just started researching, right? Found the guy, PM'd him, he PM'd me back. Now we're friends. He didn't know me from anybody. And now we got a 2 Comma Club award from ClickFunnels within about 7 months with this new training program. That'll give you an idea of the numbers that we're running.
Yeah.
And so, that's one of those things that if you're afraid to reach out, if that's the thing is you've got to, success is going to breed success, right? If you go after and you get around those people, you will become more successful. It's just the way it works. Even if it's awkward and even if it's, just most people, they just are afraid of being rejected. And that's what you do. That's why we do that 2 hour window calls is it forces everybody to get on the phone. It forces them to make phone calls. We had guys walk away. The first time we did it, we had a guy walk away that had over 10 grand in sales just in that 2 hour period. Would 10 grand change your life?
Certainly. Well, and
right?
I was going to say, and I bet in that 2 hour block, every single person, at least at one point in that process, deals with failure or rejection. Right.
So, dude, we had people literally getting up and going, "Oh man, I got to go get a Starbucks." And I'm going, "No, you need to sit down and get on the phone."
And ultimately,
they're scared.
Yeah, over time, you become comfortable with that. It doesn't bother you as much. You learn coping mechanisms and skills to overcome that feeling or those fears. And then once you're past that point, then it's just effort. You put in good hard work. You do good work. You get it back.
Yeah. You've got to pay attention to those voices in your head, right? Because I would say what we were going to do, we would start to do what we were going to do, and there'd be all these people have all these excuses. Well, I don't really have my list ready. Well, I don't really have anybody else to call. Well, my phone needs to be charged up. Well, I really need something to eat because my blood sugar's low. They would come up, my dog died and I need to get on the phone. Literally would come up with all kinds of crazy
I was going to say,
excuses.
Any teacher getting ready to bust out a big exam or something.
Exactly. And all it was going to do is help them, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know what that may be in your specific world, but whatever it is, maybe you need to set aside a block of time, 30 minutes a day and force yourself out of your comfort zone to do something that feels totally not comfortable. That's why Nate's successful in the internet marketing world now, is because he finally forced himself out of that, built his business, got it up big enough now that he can work 15 hours a week and make a good living doing it, right? That's the kind of stuff that changes your life, is when you get uncomfortable. You start to go, you know what? I can do this. I don't need anybody to come save me. I don't need the government to save me. I don't need anybody to come along and save me, right? I can do this. I've just got to force myself out of my comfort zone.
And I was going to say, Nate, I don't know about you. The thing that came to mind for me that I can see that's instantly relatable, I see far too many people who make content on Twitch and are mildly to even moderately successful, have developed a base, are able to have a certain amount of average viewers every single month or every single stream. And then, on everyone's Twitch profile, there is space where you can check out a bio below. And there's usually associated links to whatever that person has below that. And there's either the presence of none at all, or I go to click that YouTube link that they have, and they have little to no presence on that particular platform. But they're wildly successful over here on Twitch, able to create and I've heard from some people that they don't know. it's a different platform, so that's scary. They know that it requires more work, and it's a different kind of work than to just turn on my computer, my video game, my camera, and go. They know that they would have to learn an editing software. They would learn that they have to put in time and energy figuring out how to do editing in general. It's very interesting that people have fears like that will hold them back and will generate a lot of excuses, like you said, Cory, to figure out a way to not do it for themselves.
I think it's the fear of learning a new platform, to be honest. I think that's the one.
It's a big part.
Twitch is very close to YouTube, but it is completely different to be successful on there.
Yeah. It is.
It takes way more time, to be honest. It does. And the same with TikTok, the same with Instagram. Every single one of these platforms is developed for a particular person, and you have to make content specific for that platform. So when you start adding it up, that's what, 5 different platforms?
4 or 5 platforms.
4 to 5, yeah. But if you could do it, just think how it could change your stream.
Yeah, and the hard part for me, whenever we come across that sort of thing, the fear, especially targeted towards YouTube, to me, it's the most important. Every single person on the planet, not everybody has the same levels of access, but you know what I mean? Everybody and their brother knows to go to YouTube for certain content. And it's only going to get more like that as younger generations come and grow and develop. So, my mom, my dad, they know how to search for a YouTube video, and they're in their mid to late 50s. So when we talk about a very common business practice, be where the people are, figure out how to get yourself at the place where everybody is. It's like, it's crazy to think that we would be so interested in working so hard on this one particular platform that we are basically boxing ourselves out of potentially grabbing all these other people over here. And from a business perspective, it just doesn't make good business sense. And I don't know if it's just fear or what exactly it is, but I guess that's me saying, open up your eyes and think about the fact that you are potentially locking yourself out of a lot of other opportunities to interact with potential viewers and people in your community, other business streams, like we talked about, Cory, at the beginning. I have to be live in order to make money on Twitch. I can make a video that stays on the platform of YouTube for multiple years and continues to generate some level of income for me, depending on what I make. So
it doesn't have to be hard either. I think people make it way more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, we teach a couple of really simple methods inside of our training because we use YouTube to leverage the power, juice, authority of YouTube because Google owns it, right? Second largest search engine in the world. Some people say it's the first. YouTube could be, right? And so, there's ways to get your video to show up as a related video. So at the end of it, your related video, right? It comes up, and there's ways to do that organically. That doesn't cost you a dime, right? And I teach those kinds of things. There's little simple strategies like that are not complicated, that seem complicated, but once you figure them out, they're really not that hard, that you can do. And I know it's learning, right? I love to learn, so I don't mind learning a new platform. I mean, if the old bald guy can figure some of this stuff out, I'm sure that you guys could figure it out, right? But that's the thing, right? I mean, I see what Nate does with the Twitch, especially that stream that y'all do. I would have no desire to learn all that stuff. That is just not me. But I tell you what I would do. I mean, it doesn't even have to be you. You can always find somebody else to do it, right? You could outsource a lot of editing if you don't want to be the one to do it. You could outsource some of that stuff that you're not comfortable with. We teach that all the time in our training. There's plenty of people out there that love that kind of stuff. They love to edit, and they love to mess around with the video stuff and the music and all the other stuff in the background. I don't enjoy any of that. It takes me like 20 times as long. I run a marketing agency and a digital marketing agency. I don't build a single website. You do not want to see the websites I build. They look like kindergartner websites, right? I have people that do that for me. I have staff that does that for me, right? It works the same way. I'm sure with any platform that you're out there, you could have somebody that's, just a VA, even if you don't have a whole lot of money.
I was going to say, and you could probably talk to us a lot about sort of the initial, pathways, strategies that you used when starting your businesses. I think it's really important, and this is my own personal thing. Again, have the luxury of not needing to do this to put food on the table. So I've got flexibility. But from the very first jump, I decided to take any revenue that we earned and reinvest it back into the platform, whether that was into a desktop application that would allow me to do graphic design work on my own, or finding somebody to collaborate who could make me an animated intro so that my production value went up just a niche, just a little bit. How much of that, especially when you're starting, do you think you need to put back? What, 75%, 50%? What do you know what I mean? Is there a magic number out there?
Yeah, I don't know. I know for us, when I started our business, we had stopped ministry work. I had no money in my pocket. Literally had to get my dad to give us money to be able to move from where we were doing children's home work back to Texas to be able to start our business. Had to borrow money to start our business. Lived off of credit cards, right? I mean, our back was against the wall. So when I started our business, I didn't have the luxury of anything else. I had to learn it myself enough to be able to at least be successful, right? And all the money got poured back into it. I had to buy domain names and hosting, and had to buy tracking numbers and all ads to run ads to get leads. And there were months where we were spending money we didn't have, right? We were trying to invest money back into the business that it was off of credit cards or whatever. And we didn't have any way to pay for it unless we were landing more business. And so for me, I know I work, if it's too much stress, I get overwhelmed and I shut down. I mean, this is just me being honest, right? But I've learned that if my back's against the wall and I know how to do what I need to do, then I'll figure out a way to get it done. I mean, even if it means working stupid amount of hours, even if it means, doing a side gig. I mean, we've had people show up at our training programs that have literally Ubered to get the money to pay for it, right? Because they know that if they can learn the process, they don't mind doing the work. They'll be successful at it. And it's no different with this kind of stuff. But man, the more you can pour back into it, as far as growth in the beginning, the better. We didn't really have the luxury of, we were barely paying our bills. Barely paying our bills. Within 7 months, we were at 10K. And that was part-time doing this while I was trying to build another business. And then we went to 15, and then we went to 20, and then we went to 30, 35, 40, 50, and then we landed at 45. I mean, it just, like after that, it grew super fast. But man, most people, and Nate sees this all the time in our training, most people will not put the effort in the beginning, right? A lot of times it's sweat equity as much as it is anything else. And they won't put it in. They won't do the work that's going to be required to get them to success.
Well, and Nate, I was just going to say real quick, sweat equity is, I love that term. I love that. Like I said, grind is a popular catchphrase. It's a buzzword that I see.
Yeah, it's in ours too. It's in the internet marketing industry too.
I'm not against
grind and hustle.
Yeah, hustle. I'm not against those words per se, but I do think my definition is different. My definition of hustle is I'm only going to be live for 2 hours. I'm going to spend the other 2 hours after that editing the videos off the 2 hours that I was just live, and I'm going to spend another hour and a half networking and getting to know people that could potentially benefit or enjoy the content. Repeat. That is a hustle for 6 hours. How we spend our 6 hours and how we grind, air quotes right now, is completely different. And that to me is a big separator between successful people on the platforms or in this little niche market that we're in and the ones who don't.
Well, people don't realize the amount of time that it really takes.
Yeah.
Specifically to our business, Cory, people might say, well, Nate, you only work 15 hours a week. Oh boy, I'm going to make so much money just working 15 hours a week. Nah.
How many hours did you put in when you first started?
Over 100 a week.
Yeah.
Easily.
Mm.
And that was with working a full-time job.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I did not stop working, basically. Eat, sleep, work. That's what I did.
Mm.
And people don't realize in a Twitch stream, it might take that much. It might take that effort, depending on, a lot of things have to fall your way. You have to be, have to have some type of niche, whether it's comedy or you're really good at gameplay, plus you're really good at interacting with chat, something. But it also takes time. And
Yeah.
people spend a lot of their grind time. It's not 12 hours live. It's 2 hours live, 10 hours. What else are you doing? How are you getting people to your stream? And I mean, we're probably going to say that every single episode.
Oh yeah, we really
we need to get it in people's heads that, nah, you cannot.
It works the same with our business though, right? I mean, if people get caught up in the busy work, in this, and it sounds like with you guys, the busy work would be just being live because that's the easiest thing kind of to do, right? And it feels like you're moving in a direction. It feels like you're doing something. In my business, in the internet marketing world, that's messing with the techie stuff and building the site and researching this and doing that. None of that makes you any money.
Yep.
In our world, none of that makes you any money. The only thing that makes money is talking to a client. If you're not talking to clients and prospecting and doing sales and closing deals and sending quotes, you're never going to make any money. You're going to feel really good about yourself. You're going to get the warm fuzzies that, man, I accomplished so much today, right? Because I was on for 9 hours live today.
I worked really hard. Yeah.
Right? I worked really hard today, man. Let me pat myself on the back.
Yep.
But it didn't make you any money because you didn't do the stuff that's going to make you money, which is the networking, the getting in front of people, the collaborating, the talking with people that can get eyes on your stuff, right? Without eyes on your stuff, you make no money.
Yeah, or to, even more specifically to our market, Cory, I did all of that for the 9 hours. I've literally ran myself gas tank empty.
Oh yeah,
off of
You're
that,
done.
And I don't have any more quality energy left to learn any new skill, to apply any new technique. The one thing that I've noticed in the year and 2-3 months that I've been doing this is even the strategies that were working at the time when I made a simple Twitter and Instagram account. Since then, YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat, OnlyFans, there are like 6 other new platforms that have since jumped on the scene that you need to learn how to use and operate and leverage. And if I just spent 8 hours a day, or even, after my full-time job, a full 5 hours every single night, trying to grind and trying to grow while I'm live, I would fail. I would be missing out on all these other opportunities. And I think the hard part is, for us, there is a little bit of growth when you're live. But to me, the real marker of success and the real health of a challenge is counting how many people followed me when I was in between streams. How many people found me when I was off? Is that number going up? Is that number changing off of what I did last month or 3 months ago? And that's usually like the metric that I use personally to know, am I doing this right or not?
And I think not only can you put yourself in the time and put the time in yourself, you can, if you want to outsource, you almost have to look at it as a loss leader, which means that basically, I learned that from Ron, Cory. Loss leader basically means you're going to lose money initially until it catches up with itself. And then you start making money. So if you have the disposable income, or even, put a $20 a month cap on it and use Fiverr for some video editing or something, just to help you gain a little bit of time back, even though you're going to lose a little money, but eventually it's going to catch up to itself.
Anybody can go do a few favors or Ubers or something, right? To get a little bit of money to pay Fiverr. I mean, Fiverr's like the easiest place to go make yourself look bomb, right? I mean, it's easy to get the graphics built. It's easy to get the digital editing done. It's easy to get all the intro and the outro. Like, it's easy to get that stuff so that you look more professional. We did the same thing when we started. I mean, I bought all kinds of junk on Fiverr. Right? Now I've got a team that does all of that. That can work Photoshop and all that mess. But man, you got to do what you got to do in the beginning. Upwork is another great place to go to find people that are talented in certain things. And a lot of times they're super cheap, man. It surprises me how cheap some people sell their time. Your time is the most valuable thing that you have. Do not give it away. And what these guys are saying about, especially about using that time to grow your following instead of just to do just the gaming or just the live, man, that's where the money's made, right? That's where the money's made.
No, that's definitely a great point. And, Fiverr as a tool that you have in your back pocket that you can lean on to grow and develop your content. Huge. Now, I'm not saying that you necessarily need to have splashy graphics or crazy animated intros in order to be successful or to be entertaining. In fact, I would almost challenge you to be bigger and better than the graphics and elements that you have on your stream. I don't want you to be gimmicky. I don't want you to be, a cheese ball because you're not good enough, but your graphics are A+. At the same time, it is really smart money to take any income that you get early on and reinvest it back into either projects that people can do for you or skills that you can learn, hone, and develop on your own so that in the future you can lean on those and continue to be successful down the line.
A lot of people really like the video graphics that Risk does. Risk doesn't do those. I do those.
Get yourself a husband with a nice computer.
Yeah, there's a reason that she has that nice stuff is because she doesn't have the time to do that. She's doing other things. Yeah. She's networking. She's doing that stuff. So she got lucky. Yeah, she got lucky. But I do have the time to do that. But people don't realize how long it took me to learn. A lot of that stuff is done in Adobe After Effects. That took at least 60 to 80 hours for me to actually learn and produce the really good stuff that I have been. If you can outsource that, or if you can find someone that use your own network that might know that and you might be able to get it for cheap or something like that. So,
or Nate, like we are always sort of advocating, trim an hour or two each stream off of your time, and then take that extra hour to watch a YouTube tutorial, to learn, refine that project. Go back to a project that you edited and you exported, but since then you've learned a new skill and you can apply a new technique to it or whatever. It's the little bit like that seems really meaningless. It's, Cory, to your point earlier, it's not going to be the flashy thing. It's not going to be the 9 hours on stream patting myself on the back that feels real good. It's the dirty, hands in the dirt, hard work that is thankless that ultimately is going to save you down the line a ton.
You've got to do enough too that builds momentum. I think that's where people, we see people all the time that they'll have flashes in the pan, right? It's real bright for a minute and then goes away. Real bright, goes away. And that if you're not consistent with it, if you are consistent with it, that's where you see people like Nate get successful in the internet marketing world. It's because he worked 100-hour weeks on top of his job for months until he got to where he is now, where he can work 15 hours a week and go goof around on Adobe, whatever it is. Right? I mean, that's the way it works. So you got to build the momentum fast enough, which is where that massive imperfect action comes in. Yeah. If you just take a little bit of action every day, it does build on itself. But man, if you can figure out a way to leverage your time, leverage the things that you do well, right? Stay in your lane. That's one of the big things that we preach all the time in our training is, I need to stay in sales. I don't need to be messing with websites and all that other stuff. That is not my thing. And it costs our company money when I'm messing with tech stuff because I'm not good at it. And I know that. And so if I'll stay in my lane of what I'm really good at, right, then I'm going to make money.
That it's so interesting too, Cory. You mentioned it about the consistency part. We are at a space unlike ever before where one of the beauties of what we do is that we could pop off at any moment with our content and be really, really successful, right? I could go right after this and share a TikTok that goes viral, and then suddenly we're in a completely different place. That's an exciting thing. That is a really cool new element to this online society that we live in, especially if you're trying to do it in any way for business. The problem is, what happens if you have one that blows up, but your content isn't consistently good and regularly well produced? What's the point of the quick spark uptick if you don't have anything of substance behind it to keep it and keep people? It's almost like, don't even give it to me yet. Like, wait, don't let this video pop off. I'm not quite ready. You know what I mean? I'd rather talk to me in a month when I, have learned how to edit my own videos, or I've learned how to do this new thing and can consistently put out good content.
You can grow yourself out of business. I don't care what kind of business you have. And that's something that Ron and I have talked a lot about is in my business, we grew really fast, like so stupid fast that I had no idea what I was doing. I never ran a business that big. I never dealt with that many different pieces of the puzzle going at one time. and almost grew myself out of my business because we grew so fast that I couldn't keep up. Like I wasn't at the level I needed to be at to be able to sustain the business at the time. Now we figured out a way to do it because I brought in people that were smarter than me. I love surrounding myself with people that are smarter than me, right? And that know more than I know. And if I'm the smartest guy in the room, something's wrong. Something's wrong, right?
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure that you put yourself in that position to where when it does pop off, you got people around you that you can go, hey, this just happened. What do I do?
Yeah.
Right? Let's get on a Zoom and let's talk this thing through. Show me what I need to do next, right? Show me what I need to do after that. How do I build the team? How do I get, all of this editing done and make sure I'm building original content every day, right?
Yep.
There's so many different pieces of this puzzle, but it just takes it takes that massive action. You've got to get that momentum going. Because at the same time, the 1%, well, I don't even know that it's 1%. It's probably like a percent of 1% that actually pop off and do that, right? Everybody else has to just consistently build it over time.
Yeah.
Right? Until they get to that point where all of a sudden, they're an overnight success, right? After 10 years, right?
Right.
They're an overnight success, right?
Yeah.
But they've only been doing it 10 years. And that's the way it works in our world, right? We only see the overnight success piece. We don't see the 10 years that they had to do all this other stuff. And they made maybe a okay living, but they didn't have that kind of huge success.
Yeah.
Nowadays, that's really pushed into a smaller. If you can't make 10 or 15 grand online, you're doing something wrong. There's so many different ways to do it nowadays that it's just not that complicated. I mean, I sold almost $15,000 worth of sites in one sell this week that I'll make probably 80% profit margins on. And so, I mean, it doesn't have to be complicated stuff to make money nowadays. Not online.
Yeah.
You've got too big of an audience and too many opportunities.
Oh, I was going to say, and it kind of circles nicely back to the first thing we talked about, which was finding and developing multiple income streams, right? And we talked about it on the last podcast. Don't lock yourself in or hitch yourself to the Twitch wagon or whatever streaming platform you're on so closely that if it were to have problems or, if I mess around and get a permaban, Nate, because I play a DMCA copyrighted song and then they kick me off the platform. Am I okay? Can I survive? Would I be able to make it continuing to make content and generate revenue and, continue to build if I lost where I'm at right now on this platform that I'm on? That's a question that is always in your mind.
It will change.
Mm-hmm.
Right? At some point, Twitch is going to go away and something will replace it.
Yeah.
It's not, even in the 6 years I've been in this, like, think about all the different things that have come and gone, right? When I started doing youth ministry work, MySpace was big, right? It's a very weird world that we live in, and it moves super fast.
Yeah.
And you don't even realize anymore how fast it moves until you're in the internet world. Like it moves so stinking fast. You just got to have enough tools in your toolbox. We teach so many different ways in our training that if one thing goes down, which a bunch of people just lost all their Facebook stuff, they lost their Facebook Business Manager accounts, so they couldn't run ads. Yeah, I mean, like all the big boys got shut out probably about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. It got to a point where even our training ads that we run, we couldn't run them. Like even our training ads got shut down, and it was a Facebook thing. It wasn't anything anybody did, but that means people were out of that particular type of business for we were down almost 30 days. It hurt us bad because we spend tens of thousands on ads, right? So you've always got to have something else in your back pocket. So we run ads on YouTube. We run ads on Instagram. We run ads on even Google. We run ads on Facebook. We're across all these different platforms. We've looked at TikTok. We've looked at different things to try to figure out where else can we leverage our content that will build our assets. You've just, at some point, you got to realize that it will change. It's just the way it works. So,
and be ready to embrace it, right? We can't be.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, we can't be resentful. We can't be frustrated. We can't be angry. It can be disappointing and things like that, but certainly we can't dwell and, let it sort of weigh you down and lock you in, analysis paralysis. What am I going to do next? I'm so unprepared for this. we should be prepared at any given moment to be able to be agile, be nimble, jump from that next situation to the next one, and be thinking about where could I go if I needed to.
Yeah, you were right earlier. YouTube's going to be around for a while. It's not going anywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great platform to at least get a base built on, so that you have something out there that's different than everybody else, right? So I don't know.
We talked about it on episode.
World.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we talked about it on episode 1. How strong is your audience? If Twitch left today or tomorrow, are people going to follow you? You know, do you
because
have
they
that
will
base?
If you have the right audience, right?
Yeah, like it doesn't matter. Like the big guys, Tim the Tatman, Nick Marks, their following is going to wherever they go. They're just too good at it, right? But a lot of small streamers don't build that community like it should be built, whether that's through a platform like Discord or YouTube or some platform that you know is not going anywhere, and you are able to communicate with your audience constantly.
Yeah, that's one of the things we talked about in episode 2. It drives me crazy, Cory. We see it a lot of times where a particular content creator is not a fan of other types of platforms, so they just don't make accounts on those platforms just because they personally don't like them or they don't use them in their daily.
Does not matter what you think, right?
I don't like to get on Facebook. I'm not a big fan of Facebook. I'm in that age group where at some point we made Facebooks and then grandma and grandpa got Facebook and it wasn't cool anymore to be on Facebook, right? Like, so we transitioned to your Instagrams or your Twitters or some other platform. But you know what I do have? I do have an account for my stuff on Facebook, just in case somebody who sees me somewhere else or someone who is a Facebook user, just in case they want to see the content. And there's so many wonderful platforms out there that you can share. I mean, inside of certain apps, you can, like Facebook and Instagram have integration, but there are other social media management websites that you can create your content there, push post, and it proliferates out to all of them. You know, as long as you've got your accounts connected on those platforms, they'll go to everything or be scheduled, right? Schedule out a week's worth of posts and they send them out autonomously for you. It's just such an interesting missed opportunity that hopefully conversations like this podcast can enlighten people and make them think twice about some of the missteps that they may be making or things they haven't considered yet.
Hootsuite's still doing the free thing, aren't they, Nate?
I think so.
Yeah, so you can still, like Hootsuite, you could get on that today and blast it to at least 3 for free without spending any money. Social Pilot's another great one to do scheduling on, and it has a lot of connections.
Social Pilot.
Yeah, it's not expensive, and it's a great platform to schedule on. And that's easy. I mean, that's something that you can do. You could sit down and do, like you said, once a month. You could sit down and schedule everything out. And honestly, you probably need to do that. And then your extra stuff you do just stacks on top of that, right? So that you've got plenty of content out there. Goofy Cardone, you know, he's always saying something. One of the things he used to say, and it really got my attention, was think you're standing on the edge of the Grand Canyon, you've got one brick, and that's a social media post, and you throw it into the Grand Canyon. That's about how much good it's going to do.
Yeah.
And so you have to get loud enough. You have to get enough eyes on yours. That's why he posts like 400 times a day. You have to get loud enough that somebody's going to see it and hear it. And people don't realize how much you have to post for people to really even see it, because the algorithms are not going to give you any love unless people are seeing it and then actually doing something with the content. They have to be clicking. They have to be looking at it. They have to do something, share it, comment on it, right? They have to be doing something with the content. So use content, you know, we talk about it all the time. Do content that's going to create user interaction.
Yep.
Right? So this or that kind of content. Do you like this or do you like that, right? Question content. Things that are going to create interaction on the content so that you've got something that's user. Everything's based, like all of the Google algorithms, Instagram, Facebook, everything is
TikTok.
User activity, right? It's all user.
Yeah.
If people are and even ranking a website right now is more based on the user actually doing something, staying on the website, clicking on stuff, sharing stuff, than it is a lot of the other stuff that's out there. You get that user interaction on your stuff, and it's going to change it. it will change how the algorithm sees it, which means that you get more eyeballs, which means, it starts to domino for you in a good way.
Well, and I think...
Cory,
No, go ahead, Nate.
Can you tell us about the 30-day challenge and not only related to massive imperfect action, but actually how the algorithm works?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I do this thing. I created it out of need more than anything else. So our business died. Our safety supply business died that I started. That's how I went from ministry, started the safety supply business, started the internet marketing business to actually market the safety supply business. The safety supply business was growing, and then all of a sudden it died, right? And so I had to figure out, man, how do we make $10,000 in 30 days? I needed 10 grand in my pocket in 30 days to be able to pay my bills. And so I started posting every day, and I started doing lives, and I started doing this and that, and I started learning how the algorithm worked, right? I started learning, how do I get my stuff out there to where Facebook is pushing it out, or Instagram is pushing it out, or whatever the platform is, right? And so I created 30 days of posting built around this idea of referrals in our business. And so you would start by teasing your audience that something's coming, just like you guys were talking about earlier. Y'all were teasing these two bald guys that are going to come on and talk about taxes and whatever, right? And so you're teasing the audience. They're going, oh man, I want to make sure that I'm a part of that, right? I don't want to miss it. It's that FOMO thing, right? And so you get the audience kind of interested in it, and then you do a big launch. You do something that's going to get people to watch. And so we give away gift cards, or we give away something, right? And it doesn't even have to be anything big. People don't realize, man, people will get on and watch for a $5 Starbucks card. It doesn't have to be anything huge, right? And those users watching and interacting on the post is going to create that algorithm. It's going to see that, and it's going to create that additional movement, right? And so that consistency over 30 days of posting, and then people don't realize, and I know luckily all of your audience streams, so they're used to putting their face on a video. People don't realize how good it is to do all of those lives, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Instagram. All of the algorithms are designed to where they want you on their service. So if you're doing a live on those services, use something like OBS and push it out onto all of the platforms at once, right? Do something to where you're getting a lot of traction on a lot of platforms at one time going live, which is going to push out to all of your audience, which is going to trigger those algorithms. And as you get more and more followers watching that, it just builds on itself. So for 30 days, I give everybody literally a day by day. Here's what you do today. Here's what you do tomorrow. Here's what you do the next day. Now, what I found is most people won't do it. Sadly, they'll start and they'll do really good for about a week, and then they give up because it's hard, right? Content creation is hard. And so they give up on it instead of just going ahead and taking imperfect action. Even if it's not a great feed, even if you're sitting in your car driving to work, even if you're sitting in the break room eating lunch, at least hop on and do the live that you were supposed to do, or do the post you were supposed to do, right? And those are the kinds of things that over 30 days, as it builds, that algorithm starts to see all that user interaction, because you're doing this or that post, you're doing giveaways, you're doing referral money that you're giving away, you're doing all these different things to get people to interact. Before long, you've got your audience built up to where they're seeing everything. Otherwise, they're not seeing squat, right? They're not really seeing anything that you're doing. You can post, and it's like throwing that brick out into the Grand Canyon. It does nothing. And so you have to do enough that it builds up over time to where the algorithm sees your posts, and then it immediately pushes them out, because you're having all that interaction. You're getting 6 or 7 likes on a Facebook post. It's not going to do squat. It's never going to accomplish anything.
Yeah.
You've got to get something where you've got shares and likes and all those things. And the algorithms continue to change, but they're still the same. It's still interaction.
Yeah,
the interactions on the posts.
The goal is to get traffic and have people on your app as long as possible. Whether it's
it doesn't matter which one it is.
Which post to which post, it doesn't matter. Yeah, that's so you did that for that's a 30-day.
Yep. Inside the training group, we have a spreadsheet and a automated feed that feeds our students. If they want to join the 30-day challenge, they sign up for it. They get the spreadsheet. They get an automatic feed every day that pushes information out to them to say, hey, today you're supposed to be doing X, Y, Z. And it gives them the exact things to do, right? It would be no different here. If somebody sat down and said, okay, I want for the next 30 days, I'm going to do everything I can to get my particular Twitch stream out, right? Pushed out to wherever, to whatever audience that I can get a hold of. And then leverage other people's audiences, right? You leverage them by offering value. But when you start going live on all of these different platforms, you're going to start to see that people will pick you up. You're going to start to see that it's a natural occurrence. It's the way the algorithm is built. But you've got to be able to go live and offer some content. So offer something that's of value. Try to offer value, right? If you know a hack, or if you know something that nobody else knows about a particular whatever, right? Maybe the game that you're playing, there's some cheat code or whatever, right? There's something that you can offer that's different than what everybody else is offering, or something that's just unique. Those are things that are going to get things seen, get eyes on what you're doing, and be intentional about how you do it. If you're going to give something away, build and tease, do the giveaway, and then make them do something for the giveaway, right? Make them share, make them like the post, make them do something that's going to do something, right? That triggers that algorithm, right? Be intentional about how you do it.
That's awesome.
What's crazy is my 2 biggest marketing clients came from that 30-day challenge I did, 3.5 years
3 years ago.
Jeez.
Yep, 3.5 years ago.
They're still with
you. Were one of the first that did it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It works. I mean, it just works. Like massive imperfect action. It just works.
Yep.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Cory, thank you for being here. We've got 2 more things. We don't want to steal you too much of your time.
We're holding him up from going fishing, so I don't want to stand between him.
My daughter's laying over here going, I'm hungry.
Your daughter's a trooper. Tell her we said
TikTok videos. That's what she does all day long.
Tell her we said thank you. I know she's a trooper.
Leave us with one quick tip on growing your network as fast as possible.
Live.
Yeah.
If you want to get yourself out there as fast as you possibly can, do lives and offer value. Real value, not fake value. Offer something that really is going to make a difference in somebody's life. Like y'all were talking about earlier. Maybe it has nothing to do with video games. Maybe it has to do with some other goofy hack. Maybe you know how to buy cars cheap. Maybe it doesn't matter what it is. Go live, offer something of stupid, crazy value. And don't be afraid to give that stuff away. People are so sometimes we'll give away whole trainings. I'm not worried about it. They're going to want the rest of the stuff that I have to offer when they see the initial information, right? So if I give something of huge value, they like the content, what are they going to do? They're going to follow me. They're going to try to find more content to consume. So go live, use the algorithms, right, in your favor, and offer stupid amounts of value. Value first. Don't try to make money first. Offer value first.
You'll see
that people will start following you.
And just so the audience knows, when Cory says I give away a training as value, that's $6,000 to $10,000. That's not $10.
Yeah, we don't.
So
we don't play around with
away a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Final thing. One influential person you look up to or have learned the most from, or a book or a podcast episode that you think the audience of a content creator should know.
That's a hard one.
That's a great question. Yeah, it is a great question.
It is a great question. I don't watch a lot of, I don't listen to a lot of podcasts anymore because I don't have time. I would say that just going back over time, most of probably your audience won't even know who these people are, but I listened to a ton of Jim Rohn, a ton of Zig Ziglar back when I was a kid. Like, those were the things that people would hand me and go, like successful people I would talk to. They go, here, listen to this stuff. These are the people that Tony Robbins listened to back when he was young, right? That's where he got the grounding of the basis of what he does now. The dude makes crazy money, right? Tony Robbins is massively successful. Those guys probably were as influential on mindset. We talk about this all the time in our business. 90% of this is mindset. It's not the skill of playing the video game or how to do the graphics and the editing. And it's not that stuff. We think it is, but really 90% of the stuff's mindset. And those guys, the old Jim Rohn and the Zig Ziglar and even Tony Robbins somewhat, I mean, those guys back in the day, the mindset stuff that they would help you to get your mind right, right? Check up from the neck up before you start doing whatever it is that you're doing, to where your brain's right, your mind's right, you're focused on what you need to be focused on instead of the other stuff. That's really, I think, what those guys helped me to do through the years, because I could see the good in everybody. And I think a lot of it comes out of following those guys, because that's the way they taught back then. You don't see that kind of stuff much anymore. And I think that's something that's missing probably in content creation today is you're missing that mindset, that mindset attitude, right? The stuff that's going to help you get through that day when you do your stream and 2 people join and nobody interacts and life sucks that day, and you had a flat, going to get your girlfriend and, whatever, right? It's just not a good day, right? And you got to have your mindset right. I would seek out that kind of stuff. Maybe that's not what you'd listen to, but guys and gals that are teaching that same
that
kind
stuff.
Yeah, that kind of stuff, right? And I know a lot of people they ignore it and they think, oh, I don't need that stuff. But man, that mindset stuff's what gets you through and keeps you consistent, persistent, because you're gonna have days where nothing's gonna work right. I mean, we lost a $45,000 a month account one day. You think my mindset was right that day? It was not right that day. That hurt.
Yeah. But like you said, having the right base, the right foundation from the mental side, that stuff being there was already there. Man, I swear we did not prime you to say that, but episode 1 was called The Mindset of a Successful Twitch Streamer.
Oh, was it really?
So
I've never watched your episode, so I didn't know that. Yeah,
so that's what I'm saying.
I love it, but it's the same stuff over and over, right? Success, it leaves clues. It just does. And so if you get around successful people, you're going to start to see that they do certain things. You're going to see that almost all these successful people work on their mindset, probably as much or more than they work on all the other stuff.
Yeah,
the techie stuff and the skill set stuff and all that.
It's so funny you mentioned that. That instantly reminds me of interviews that I've heard from Kobe and from LeBron, the best of the best at their Michael Jordan as well. I mean, I think he talks about it in the MJ doc that we saw all last summer. I mean, they, as important as it is for them to take care of their bodies, they have to spend 3, 4, 5 times the amount of time working on their mental side, right? Phil Jackson, famous for the Zen part of his whole entire coaching philosophy, right? The X's and O's are important. The technical ability is important, but probably even more is, like you're saying, the mindset, having the mental side figured out and being established and reliable to get you through both the successful days and the unsuccessful days.
It's time to sell somebody is when you've closed somebody, like immediately. There's something about your mindset, the way you project everything that you're doing, right? And it works the same way, opposite of that. If you're having a bad day, man, maybe you need to go do something to reset, whatever that may be for you. Maybe it's game. Maybe you just loved a game and you don't want to stream today. Maybe you just need to sit down and veg out for a little bit. For me, I pick up my fly rod or my fishing pole and I go sit on the river for hours, right? And it resets my mind. It clears. And you've got to realize that every successful person does that. They all do it. Warren Buffett's so successful because he reads like 8 to 10 hours a day. That's what he does every day. He doesn't sit and watch the stock market. He doesn't watch charts and graphs. He reads every day. That's what he does every day, right? Dude's worth a stupid amount of money.
Yeah.
Right? Now, all these guys that you see that are stupid successful, they spend time every day working on their mental. It's more about mental than it is anything else. But we want to skip over that. We want to get to the other stuff. It doesn't work that way. You've got to get the mental game right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that insight and, just giving up an hour plus of your time. I mean, this was, hopefully the listeners got as much value as I feel like I got out of it. This was great.
Yeah. Thank you a lot, Cory, for spending your $3,000 an hour time just with Streamer Pod.
You can go ahead and
I'll send you the bill.
Yeah, send the bill to Nate.
I know where you live.
I would say, Nate's. You got Nate on the text. Don't worry about my number. You can just send it to Nate.
I'll send you my info. We'll take care of that in a minute.
I love it. I love it. Nate, well, we appreciate you. Thank you. Cory, we appreciate you. Nate, we appreciate you too. But especially, Cory, we appreciate your time and your energy today. This was awesome. And you're welcome back on whenever you want. You
bet, man.
You let us know and we'll have you back.
For sure. Loved it. This was fun, man.
Awesome. Take care, man. Oh, man. Yo, thank you again to Cory for coming on. Nate, that is so awesome. He is an incredible and invaluable resource. And I'm really lucky. I feel really fortunate that, you had connections with him and we were able to get him on. I don't know if it's in the streamer pod budget for $3,000 an hour. We got pretty lucky. We dodged a bullet there. Thank you, Cory.
We did. We did dodge a bullet there. That's funny.
Yeah, no, I love that segment. Guys, please show some love to Cory. If you need to get a hold of him or you want to know more, we certainly can link you guys up with his contact information if you've got specific questions. But I really appreciate that. That's our first official guest on the episodes on the show here. So really, really fun. And without further ado, Nate, as we get wrapping up here on this episode, we can't leave without talking about Content Corner. As we mentioned in episode 2, our favorite new little segment where we talk about things that aren't necessarily related to the topic of the episode, but they are definitely relevant to all of us in the streaming content creation space. Nate, what do you got for us this week?
I've got 2 this week. I've seen one article, and I don't even know if it was super publicized, but Twitter is making something called Super Follow. So basically, it's a subscription base on Twitter that kind of rivals like the Patreon concept for content creators.
That's so smart.
That is genius by Twitter. Twitter's a much bigger company. Twitter advertises. Everybody knows what Twitter is. A lot of people don't know what Patreon is.
Yep.
So when Twitter comes out with Super Follow, give it a good look. See if that's something that you maybe could offer your audience, or maybe develop another separate stream of income, like we just talked about with Cory. To be honest, so take a look at that. My fun one is, I'm a huge Tim the Tatman guy. I think I might have a man crush on him, to be honest.
He's so good.
But he actually rated a dude that I have never watched. His name is Seth Drums. Just super impressed, and it kind of took me down the rabbit hole of the music side of Twitch. Some of these dudes are incredibly talented. So if you've never watched, his name is Seth Drums. It's all one word. Or there's another guy that Kimbro recommended, Dan Drumstone. Unbelievable musicians, unbelievable talent, and they're also really good streamers. So if you haven't gone down the music rabbit hole of Twitch, please go down the rabbit hole, because it's pretty awesome.
It's so fun. And I love the fact that live streaming content is going beyond gaming. I know YouTube gaming is currently YouTube gaming right now. But there are a lot more people on all of these platforms going live with their different talents, partially due to the pandemic. I know that there were a lot of virtual concerts and things going on, but I also like, just not for a specific cause or by force, that you can just pop on and start to see some of your favorite musicians live streaming a set, or, incorporating it into the things they do between tours while they're recording an album. It's just so fun, and some of these people are just incredibly talented. And as a musician myself, I'm so excited that side of the Twitch space at this point is starting to grow and develop, and I'm pumped, man.
Yeah, that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
What do you got for us, Kimbro?
Yeah, Seth is awesome. I love Seth. Okay, so what I got in the news this week, probably a week and a half, 2 weeks ago by the time I've recorded this and this episode comes out, there is a company called eFuse. E, lowercase, capital, fuse, like a bomb. It is being touted as the LinkedIn for gamers. And I registered for an account, got myself set up on the platform, and I was blown away. Nate, I was blown away. If you're familiar with a LinkedIn account, it is actually very reminiscent. It feels very much like it, where you're going to have a profile, you're going to have a picture and a little short bio, and then you're going to fill out a lot of information about your experience, your work experience, your education, any sort of honors you've had, even down to specific skills you have. Like, I know how to video edit. I know how to audio engineer. Any things like that that are kind of in the gaming space, something you wouldn't traditionally put on maybe your actual LinkedIn if you're a young professional in this space. This is exactly where that stuff goes. It has an awesome feed where you can post videos or status updates like a Facebook feed. It looks and feels just like a Facebook feed. There's an opportunities tab where you can get yourself connected with an organization. You can sign up and register for an esports tournament, all sorts of options out there. And then my favorite that I showed Nate off stream here, off recording, in the app specifically, there's a connect with gamers section where you actually, it shows you little tile cards and you actually swipe through as if you're on Tinder. It's like gaming Tinder, where you're like liking a follow. And if you swipe right on somebody, you follow their account on the platform. If you swipe left, it sort of discards them and you continue playing that gamification of finding out about people's content. And it shows you, information about them, their bio, their name, their picture. It's fun. It's unique. It's really, really wild. I really like the future that it potentially holds for all of us. And then the news broke that this content platform has been got just recently a $6 million infusion from investors. And those investors were the likes of Zeke Elliott, Denzel Ward, Braxton Miller, Odell Beckham Jr., some really prominent names in the NFL and at high levels in college football, are also gamers and like the platforms, and they've committed money and put money behind this platform. And so we're going to hear more and more about it, and it's only going to get better and more refined, have less bugs, add more features. It's only going to get better. So sign yourself up for an eFuse profile as soon as you can and get yourself going on that platform.
For sure. And the cool thing about this one that I'll add to is that it's not one of those platforms that might pop up and, it doesn't look professional. It doesn't look, clean. This looks like it's had a ton of time put into it. It looks and feels and acts just like a Facebook or a Twitter or anything like that. So that gives me the confidence that this type of platform could be worth something.
Yeah.
At least worth a little bit of your time to put some effort into it, especially if you can get in on the ground floor.
Yep.
Kimbro told me he wants to get a verified check.
I want one. I want a blue check mark. I want to be in so early that I get a blue check mark. Last thing on that, I told Nate too, the CEO of this company, in addition to Nate's initial hot take about, it looks and feels really professional. It looks like they've taken a lot of time and energy. I think this might work. Forbes, which we're all familiar with, at least in North America, if you're listening to this from the United States, Forbes is a noteworthy business publication. Forbes actually released a 30 people under the age of 30, sort of like a top list, and the CEO of this company is on there. His name's Matt, and it's awesome. I'm super excited for the future of this. I'm always all about passive engagement. Where can you be on a certain platform where someone can come across you and be interested in your content or your whole channel and your whole brand? So this is just another toolbox, and it's growing. So I'm really excited for it.
For sure. Well, I think that does it for this episode. Again, thanks to Cory for spending time with us. A lot of good nuggets in there. And Kimbro, I'm going to let you sign us off with our catchphrase.
Yeah, man. Be on the lookout for more. Make sure you follow us on all those platforms we mentioned at the top of the episode. Connect with us. Reach out to us if you've got any questions. We're having a blast making these. And don't forget, plan better, create better. We'll holler at you guys in the next one.
See ya.
Peace.